Hey guys, got a special bike today. I'm at Prospect Park in Brooklyn with Chris Nolte from Propel. How's it going, man?
How's it going?
I appreciate you showing me this place because it's the perfect location, at least in Brooklyn, to check out a full suspension carbon bike. We're looking at the FullSeven Carbon Ultimate. This is just top of the line. Whoever designed this must have had a blast because all of the equipment is just, it's the highest specs I've seen or ridden. And
hold no punches.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what's impressive to me about it is not just that it comes in carbon. Yeah, you have a carbon handlebar, you got a carbon seat post, but you also have carbon wheel set, these bladed wheels. And from my understanding, these are really custom for this bike.
Yeah, so there's a company in Germany that makes these wheels, and they're very limited. You know, you could pretty much only get them in Europe. In the U.S., they're not otherwise available. And you know, they worked with Haibike, and they actually have that integrated magnet on the other side, which
yeah, that's so funny. You know, we noticed this because I've been studying this bike, getting all the specs and stuff, and I was like, look at that. Normally they'd have to like screw a magnet onto a spoke. We have another Bosch powered electric bike here from Felt, and that's what it looked like. I wanted to have these two side by side because this is an aluminum alloy frame. That's what you traditionally see on these e-bikes.
Right.
As I was saying, I mean, a carbon bike, it's like, it's kind of incredible. And reading online, it was saying that the motor interface and even the rear swing arms and stuff, this is all carbon. Not the fork, but quite a bit of this was done custom, and you can see that there aren't, you know, welds and different things. It's really smooth. That seems to be one of the benefits of carbon, is that they can kind of custom mold it.
Yeah, they can make shapes that they can't otherwise do with aluminum. Or yeah,
it's very cool. And what I should tell you guys is that this is it's like a press bike. I guess it's been passed around a little bit. When did you get it, Chris?
We've had it for a little while. Recently, I think Popular Mechanics actually did an article on it, and
okay.
I think they did a video as well. And,
yeah, so you might be able to see the same bike from some other sources. As I mentioned before, there are 4 sizes. This is the 50 centimeter. It's like 20-inch frame or something. I get maybe like a large. Really interesting to see something so custom available in 4 sizes. Haibike is known for, in my opinion, they offer a huge range compared to a lot of other brands.
Without a doubt, yeah, and they're always kind of pushing the envelope. They were one of the first electric mountain bike brands to work with Bosch.
So this bike, it's got 120 millimeters of travel. The tires were spec'd for kind of enduro riding. So this is the kind of bike that you could toss around. You can really, I mean, it's not downhill, but a little bit longer travel, a little bit of downhill, maybe some climbing, some downhill. Unfortunately, all the stuff we're telling you may not be relevant because these were released in, it seems like, very limited quantity, and it's $16,699 MSRP. I have seen it priced lower online from a couple of outlets. I just, you know, again, it's a press bike. It's kind of a showpiece, and we're going to have fun with it. I'm going to go through all the neat features and hardware with you, but I just wanted to give you that feedback because people often ask, like, how much is it? Or, you know, it's like, well, that's ridiculous. This is like a race car. You know, race cars are expensive. You don't produce them in mass quantities, and a lot of this is a higher touch point, probably for the manufacturer, like the wheel set Chris was saying. Not only do they have to design these to be a limited run, but they've got to embed that magnet, and, you know, there's more to it than even a regular bicycle. So I just want to get that out of the way. I love that, you know, you've got the Velcro here holding on this backstop. It's also carbon fiber so that the chain won't overshift and rub on these wheels. I think those are one of the sort of the weak points on the bike. We were looking online for the maximum weight, and it was 209 pounds for those wheels. But then Haibike had said, hey, our bike is, you can ride it up to 269 pounds. So I was like, be careful. You might not want to take Haibike's advice on that one.
And it might be a different wheel set too, so we don't fully know.
Yeah, you're being extra sensitive. I mean, we don't want to badmouth this bike because it is so cool, but I want to be clear that there are some limitations and some sensitivities. Another area that we noticed is there were some cracks here. Possibly that came from other press riders. And I was like, is this like a scratch? What happened here? You can see there's a chip. And you were saying that actually you thought maybe it was the carbon flexing a little bit and chipping the paint because carbon's so stiff.
Yeah, that can happen. And, you know, and we don't really know. I mean, the bike has been kind of handed around quite a bit, so
and banged around a little bit. I saw a couple of, some scratches on the crank arm on the left-hand side. It's still working really great. I mean, even I neglected to mention that the brake levers are carbon even. I mean, it's cool to see. I appreciate that they've got little extras here. There aren't any rack bosses. There's no bottle cage boss mounting point, which is something I complain about a lot on e-mountain bikes. No kickstand. It's hardcore, I get it. But I do like that they've got a little fender cover for the, is that the stanchion on the rear suspension here on that Fox? That's the smooth part. It looks like they've got this cashmere coat, so it's extra solid, extra hard, so it's not going to get scratched as easily. Right. These are custom tuned fork. It's a little bit thicker and sturdier to handle the additional weight and speed. 20 mile per hour top speed on this. It's using the Bosch Performance Line CX 75 Newton meter peak output. We've got 142 by 12 millimeter through axle on the rear, 100 by 15 millimeter in the front, both of them quick release, 203 millimeter on the disc brake rotor up front, 180 on the rear. I already mentioned the brake levers, adjustable reach because they are hydraulic. I like the grips too. They're kind of clear, and you've got this little almost shining through of the reflection on the carbon underneath. Really beautiful cockpit on this bike, and it is a 1x11, so we've got 18 tooth up here on the tiny sprocket. That spins at 2.5 revolutions per crank arm revolution. That's one of Bosch's secrets. I think it's really responsive, very quick, but they do have a Sprocket Equalizing System, a little pulley wheel above it with a chain guide, so hopefully you won't drop that chain. I don't see how it could come off, and it raises it so that the suspension isn't going to have, you're not going to have kickback. You're also not going to have as much chain slip because these are narrow wide teeth on both the chainring and that pulley wheel. 11 to 42 teeth on that 11-speed cassette. Shimano XTR, and this is electronic shifting, so it uses the DI2. You can see the little window up here, and the triggers on the right. Really easy to reach. They only go one direction. As far as electronic shifting goes, I think that's another one of, the wheel set adds to the price, the limited run, the carbon frame, the electronic shifting. One complaint I have, and this isn't against Haibike, is that, this runs off a separate battery, believe inside the stem here, and they have to have a custom stem. I guess I should have said steering tube. So you've got to kind of charge that or maintain it separately. There's a little door on the side of this thing right there. It'd be cool if this ran off the big battery you've got right there, but that's even more expensive, more integration. It's just something to think about. As far as normal shifting goes with cables, those can stretch over time and might not be as easy to I don't know, I don't know if I'm saying this right. Keep aligned. Yeah, you were saying that they can hook it up to a computer and you can align it that way?
Right. Yeah. So you can do all the tuning and diagnostic and everything from the Shimano's interface, which is pretty cool.
It's incredible. Yeah, shifting on this thing was really tight. That's the word for me. Carbon fiber is known for being like stiff. You have very good energy transfer. You've got an excellent drivetrain on this. You've got a super responsive motor. With that smaller sprocket, like I said, it's like on, off. And riding this down here, I was very easy to hit 20 miles per hour. And I was using the lower two levels of assist, which I usually use the second or third on the heavier bikes. But you notice how quickly this thing accelerates off the line because it is so light. It just feels great. Coming up to these tires here, these are 27.5 by 2.35. They're Schwabe Hans Dampf. I was looking at the underside of the down tube, and there is a sticker right here, which I think is good because you don't want to get nicks in your carbon fiber. Also, a nice plastic, I don't know if this is like a, bash, I don't know, it's a bash guard. Is that what there's kind of these louvered push guards on some of the other bikes, and a lot of times they're aluminum. Maybe plastic is lighter. This is one of the most compact versions of the Bosch CX I've seen. I like how it's tilted up a little bit. This is a 2016 bike, by the way. We're in 2017 right now. I guess it just took a while. It's been passed around and stuff. I don't know if they're doing this for 2017.
Yeah, so it's pretty similar bike for 2017. It's called the FullSeven Carbon 10.0. So Haibike had switched to numbers in their kind of nomenclature rather than the different names like
Ultimate,
RX, Pro, Ultimate,
right.
that sort of stuff. So this bike is basically replaced with the the Carbon 10.0. And I think one of the main differences is just the 500 watt hour pack. I think most of the other specs are pretty similar.
Okay, and yeah, you're making a great point. The battery on this one could be upgraded to the Power Pack 500, but it's the older Power Pack 400, 36 volts by 11 amp hours. 5.4 pounds versus 5.7 on the newer one, so you don't add that much weight. They've got really great battery cells that are high energy density, and it's compact. I feel like it blends in with this frame pretty well. It's not quite as stealthy as like the Specialized turbo bikes or some of the Bulls bikes where the battery is like actually in the down tube. But this is going to be quicker to remove. You can charge off the bike fairly easily. You can also charge on the bike if you're not familiar with this pack. They've got a nice rubber cover here, a proprietary interface. You do have an LED charge indicator on the left, so if you had this separate from the bike, perhaps this is hanging in your garage and you took the battery inside your office or whatever, your house to charge, you'd be able to tell quickly like how full it is. And I just love that you're always going to have a Bosch battery pack like that to get. You might have to transfer this sticker to make it look perfect, but those batteries are on all kinds of bikes. A lot of times when you spend a ton of money on a bike like this, if it's too custom, then you can't use it at some point. Like the battery runs out in several years of use and you're just like, well, now what? I'm stuck with this totally custom system. That's part of the reason I love Bosch. It's a big company. They've made thousands and thousands of bikes with even that motor system. This one might be a little bit more custom, but it still seems to have the same bolt pattern, so you could completely replace it if you wanted to. I mentioned before that has 75 Newton meters of torque versus 63 on the Performance Line Cruise, which is the other 20 mile per hour motor. It's measuring your rear wheel speed using that magnet we saw earlier and that sensor. It's measuring your crank arm cadence. It's also measuring torque. So when I was in the second level of pedal assist, I could pedal pretty naturally and smoothly, and I wasn't over accelerating, but then when I needed to pass someone, I just pushed a little harder. I didn't even need to change assist level. I just pushed harder, and that torque was responded by the motor pretty instantly. It measures all three of those signals 1,000 times per second. It's a little bit louder, like you hear more of a ring with this motor, but when you've got knobby tires like these, that kind of masks the sound and just the wind and stuff. It's not a big concern, and I don't think people noticed that as much as they noticed the freewheel in the back. It was like bzzz. It has all those grab points.
The prawls, yeah.
Prawls, yeah. Thank you for the correct terminology here. You hear it. It's definitely louder than that felt bike, and not because it's electric. It's because of the drivetrain setup here. So we do have remote lockout on the suspension fork up fronts and air fork. We do have climb, trail, descend. We've also got preload adjust on both of those at the bottom right on that, and then the little red clicker on that one. Even carbon fiber, what are those risers right here? Oh, and the seat is carbon. How could I almost forgot this? I didn't forget it when I was riding over here because it's not nearly as comfortable and squishy as a traditional saddle that has some sort of a plastic or rubber cover. I kind of got used to it. It is a full suspension bike. I don't know how much weight that reduces, but it adds to the whole, like, wow, this bike it's all carbon. What have I missed here, Chris? Do you have any thoughts that, you've had this bike in your shop for a while. People excited about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an amazing ride. It's just, it's something that you don't experience with some of the other bikes with the electronic shifting and the wheels and everything else.
It's a real treat.
It's pretty amazing. So, I think a lot of people just wish they had the money that this is like, something that it's not a big deal to purchase, but I think it's a real blast to ride.
And on that point, so we've got, this is like a 2015 model of a felt full suspension bike, the Full E. It's not the same in terms of drivetrain and the suspension and everything, but it's a full suspension bike. This one's like $6,500, $7,000. Is that right?
50. It was like 57. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's like 6-ish.
Yeah.
Okay. Versus almost 17,000. Probably, a couple thousand less if you're actually buying this. And I've seen them discounted from 2016, so they're probably cutting into their dealer margin. But that $10,000, that's going towards the custom wheel set. It's going towards the drivetrain. It's going towards all those. Every touch point on this is really upgraded.
Yeah, I think that's a point where we're thinking, like, if this was not carbon, and if you were to keep all the components the same, like if just the frame was not carbon, you might be saving, $500 to $1,000. but the other components are, definitely adds up, and
Yeah.
it's challenging to make carbon that is durable and and it holds up well. I mean, you can make inexpensive carbon, and
I've
we've
seen
it,
some
right?
of those, yeah.
So,
Carbon fiber electric bike, and then
Yeah.
you're like, whoa, what's the you haven't even heard of some of the other parts.
right.
Carbon fiber, just for the sake of carbon fiber, isn't a good thing necessarily. This bike, we were just weighing it. It's like 46 pounds, okay? 46 pounds. The FullSeven Carbon Ultimate, 42 and a half.
Right.
Okay, so, that's...
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is the parts are a little bit more heavy duty, so they do weigh a little bit more. But you definitely do get some weight savings in the frame. But I think, getting back to that point about having inexpensive carbon, it's not a good move. I mean, I think there's a big issue in the bike industry overall of like counterfeit carbon fiber frames.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of brands have trouble with that. Specialized has a lot of issues with that, where people will replicate their carbon fiber frames and people get hurt. And when you get hurt on a carbon fiber frame, you can get hurt pretty bad.
It just shatters, right?
Yeah. So, a well-made carbon fiber frame, it's reinforced, it's built properly, that won't really happen.
Yeah.
But something that's not well-made, it's not reinforced properly, you could be riding down a hill and it could just crack in half like nothing, and
that's the other thing about a big company that actually has liability insurance. And so if something happens on this, I'm not trying to be a hater here. It's cool that these companies are innovating. And I think it's a buzzword, carbon fiber. But the truth is, when you hit something on a bike like this, it bends it a little bit. Okay, when this cracks, it could be a catastrophic failure. And there is a limited weight, whatever it is on this bike. It's lower than a lot of other bikes.
Sure.
It's awesome for what it is, but you want to take care of it. You want it to come from a legitimate company. That costs a lot of money. That's why we don't see a lot of carbon fiber bikes. That's just and actually I was looking at the environmental costs, and aluminum and all the metals take quite a bit of energy to produce. It takes more water, apparently, to produce carbon, and there's more glues and stuff, so there might be some like toxicity question marks. It seemed like it was kind of comparable, but they can recycle aluminum, and I was like, okay, and steel can be recycled, aluminum can be recycled. A lot of times they don't use it to build another bike frame because they want pure aluminum for the strength characteristics.
Right.
When it comes time to recycling carbon fiber, do you want to know what they do? Specialized has a program for this. They cut it up. That's recycling for them, because they don't want anyone to try to make it work because you could get hurt. That's the answer. I don't, it's amazing to me. The more I've been digging into this and stuff, I love carbon personally. I've had a carbon road bike, and it's kind of this interesting plastic feel, and there's something special about it. It's not necessarily good. It's one of those cases where you go over to someone's house and they're like, have some of this fine food that's very rare and special, and you're like, oh, that was interesting. It's not necessarily better. So I'm not hating on carbon, but I'm saying, like, for real, you're saving 3.5 pounds, you're spending a ton more money. This is like super elite, high-end stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely not for everybody. I think most riders might not necessarily notice the differences between the bikes, but I think some very experienced riders, and they're used to a high-end carbon.
They want the
mountain
immediate
bike,
response,
and they want that. Then I think that there's a market for that. But I think for most people's uses, I think aluminum definitely is more common. But I do think that the industry, they are developing more technologies and they're getting better with carbon fiber, and it's actually getting to a point where it's not significantly more expensive to produce a carbon frame as opposed to aluminum. So it's going to be interesting to see if that shift happens, and if we see carbon starting to level off a little bit more.
That would be interesting. I'm sure we'll see one from Specialized or from some of these other companies that are big, and it's like, we already have carbon mountain bikes. Why not do a high-end carbon mountain bike that's electric? Sure, give it a go. This one's just so cool. I mean, it's almost like art. When you look at the wheel set and everything, you could have, if this was just a carbon frame and it had regular spokes, it wouldn't have the same, like, the beauty and the aesthetic that this has. That's probably why you're watching this review. You're like, what the heck, a carbon fiber electric bike? Thank goodness it has that slap guard. Haibike does a great job on those, neoprene in the back. Great gear spread. Probably, I mean, I was easily hitting and topping 20 miles per hour, and that's maybe back to the lightweight. one of the things that's plagued me a little bit, I have the Specialized Turbo Levo Expert. It's heavier than this. And you can't like bunny hop it. You can't throw it around the way you can on lightweight bikes. I also have a stump jumper. I bought these two because they're based on the same geometry, and I wanted to compare the two. And I ride the stump jumper quite a bit when I actually want to like jump and stuff, because the Levo, even though it's just like this, it has low center of gravity, the motor, the battery are right there. It's balanced, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's light. This was light enough that I started to get some of that back, some of the like fun and freedom that you get with a lightweight bike. So I hope that they continue to progress. We need lighter weight batteries, possibly smaller. I'm okay with 300, 400 watt hours if I can take off some of that weight. Right. I'm okay with a weaker motor. This is rated at 250 watts nominal, but it peaks above 500. There's some debate like 350 in the US, whatever. It's all based on the same hardware. Yeah. They just sort of change the software. You do get the high torque. It's very responsive. It's a sporty feel. It's what they say. This is the best you can get right now. This is totally the best, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a really great points about that too. And I think that we're going to start seeing that more and more, where maybe you don't need to have, maybe you have several batteries that are lower watt hours, and then you can swap them in, or whatever the case may be, and different things like that to bring the overall weight of the bike down. And because most people, are you going to really use 400 watt hours or 500 watt hours in one ride or whatever? Most people probably not.
I usually don't.
Yeah.
And this has the cool range. So let's jump into the display real quick. I mentioned that the battery was removable. It's got this great handle on it so you don't drop it, because it's kind of sensitive, like the frame. You don't want to toss that thing around too much. The display is removable, comes off. Great if you're parking this outside at a rack or something and you want to keep the sun off of it, and also just reduce any potential for scratching. It turns on here with the power button. Hopefully you can see this all right. It might be a little bit of glare. You've got a battery indicator with 5 bars, a little infographic, speed in miles per hour, but if you hold reset and I, you can get in there and change to kilometers per hour. You can change the clock. You can also, what was the other thing that you can do within the display, Chris?
You could change the shift recommendations.
That's right.
And what else?
Shift recommendation is these arrows that tell you shift up, shift down, and language. Yeah, you're right. So that's something it took me a while to figure that out. There's a light button, but this bike doesn't have lights integrated. You can do that though as a shop if someone wanted to.
Yeah, any Bosch bike we can integrate lights into, which is pretty cool.
There's even a new Kobe system where you can put this interface and use your phone for more feedback if you want. But I really like the Intuvia personally. The reset, if you hold that down, it clears your trip distance. I cycles through different trip stats. Over on the right, we have a micro USB port. It puts out 5 volts, 500 milliamps. It's not enough to charge an iPhone, but it works on Samsung and some other devices. So if you're using Strava, you could put that right there up here in the cockpit. And then over here on the left, we have the little breakout button pad. The eye is rubberized. It's in the middle, really easy to reach. And this is set back a little ways. I feel like they could have scooched it in. And I'm not talking about Haibike. I'm talking about whoever set this bike up. There's a plus and a minus here to go up and down through the levels of pedal assist. We're in none right now. It's just a regular bike. I arrow up to Eco, Tour, Sport, and Turbo. Turbo is the fastest. You're going to get access to the full torque, that 75 Newton meters I was talking about. And then the motor, it allows you to spin at 120 supported revolutions per minute. That's higher than like Yamaha and some of the other drive systems I've tested, and you notice it. As someone who, I have an injured knee and I prefer to spin versus like these lumbering slow strokes, Bosch is my favorite for that reason. Okay, so and then there's a walk mode at the top. It's disabled on this unit. It's 2016. For 2017 more, the companies were enabling it. You would press walk and then hold plus and the bike would walk itself. Not as much of an issue when it's a 42-pound bike. So down here we have trip distance right now, clock, max speed, average speed, trip time, and range. Range is what I was talking about before. It dynamically estimates how far the bike can go based on your last 3 miles of riding, battery capacity, and the level of assist. So right now we're in turbo and it says, it can go about 9 miles. If I arrow all the way down to eco, it says, well, 29 miles, and we're at like half a charge. So, I estimate like 25 to 60 miles or something like that. Does that sound right on this one?
Yeah, just about. I would say on 400 watt hours, somewhere in that area.
There's a lot of factors. It's how heavy are you? Is it windy? Are there hills? Yeah, just your ride style. So I've been having a blast on this. Again, Eco and Tour. So on this one, it's 30 to 15 miles, depending on which level, with half a battery. Feeling pretty great about that. I also appreciate that with this bike and other Haibikes, they've got these larger portholes, so you can route the cables internally, but you can still get to them and maneuver them a little bit easier than if it was just a hole. So I don't know, the four bar, that's the horse link suspension in the rear, excellent vertical travel and efficiency. We do have the lockouts, as I talked about. Anything else, Chris? Anything else that you care to mention?
No, I mean, you know, I think that's it's a really great platform. I think they integrated it well, and you know, they're still continuing to use a pretty similar frame, you know, from Haibike, and I think it's worked really well for them. It's pretty similar between the carbon and the aluminum.
I have one more complaint.
Yeah.
Just one more. As cool as this is with the carbon seat post, I missed my seat post dropper.
Yeah.
I totally missed it. And you know, you've got it over here, and that's really handy for when you're gonna bomb a hill and you're gonna be using your legs, like bouncing yourself up and down and handling the bike. You don't want that seat like ramming you. This one, it's gonna do that. You gotta replace that. And then you're gonna get that half a pound back, and pretty soon it's only a 3 pound difference. That's why we don't see very many carbon fiber bikes right now, guys. But it's still cool. Let's go and take it for a ride. I'm gonna start out with this. Actually, maybe you can hop on it. I wanna show what it looks like from the side with those spokes.
Sure.
And then we can swap, and I'll talk about the motor.
Sounds good.
Let's give this felt a try. Felt also is known for high performance, like racing stuff. So this is a relatively light full suspension electric bike. It's nice that we could have both of these side by side, both with Bosch. Okay, wanna do it? Go for it. Kind of hear the clicking. Bosch does offer shift sensing as well, so when you shift gears, it's designed to not pull the chain and wear those sprockets and derail you out as quickly. The motor sort of eases off. Cool. Mind if I swap with you?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Okay, so I'm gonna take this up to turbo and just show you how quickly that sprocket responds. And we're up to 20, and then it's saying shift up. Yeah, the motor fades out pretty nicely. It's not like this really hard, you know, jerk kind of stop. Hear the buzzing I was talking about before. buddy. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your expertise on a review like this and just being able to have two bikes side by side.
Yeah.
I think that's about it. That is the Haibike. This is the FullSeven Carbon Ultimate. Again, FullSeven's talking about those 27.5 a wheel set. I did mean to speak about that more. You've got a decent amount of travel, but you've also got some rolling momentum and gap spanning qualities. A little bit larger tires. We're not on the plus size. Those weigh a little bit more. It's a great bike in so many ways, but it's probably not one that I'm gonna get for myself right away. I probably have to save up a little bit. If you have any more questions or whatever, chime in the comments. Feel free to chime in if I missed something. I'm not like a mountain bike expert, and we did the best we could to research this. I measured the frame and everything. This is the 50 centimeter frame, so you can see standover height and everything. It might be hard to find one of these in person to actually try, but your shop in Brooklyn does have this one.
Right.
It's for sale, right, Chris?
It should be for sale, yeah.
It should be for sale, okay. Again, it was a press bike, so this one's taken a little bit of damage along the way. Have fun out there, ride safe.